I'm Mitch with Triumph at Athletics. We're a training team based in Ventura, California. Wanted to run through a list of things a buddy of mine asked me about. So going over some movement prep and exercises to help bolster the posterior chain. So a lot of your hip extension, your hamstrings, glutes, spinal erector, quadratus lumborum, stuff like that, to help with deadlifting and other positions where we're going to be leaning and hinging over to pick things up off of the ground, whether it be related to your clean and jerk or your snatch or so on. We have to have a strong posterior chain. It's really one of the bigger components to long-term health. Strong glutes make everything better, but we have to also make sure everything else tied to the glutes tremendously rigid and capable. So I'm going to run through a movement prep for you guys and then some accessory movements that'll actually be better for building your backside, not just your butt. I hope you guys enjoy this, and I hope to put out more videos in the future. But look at the whole video and really listen to everything that I instruct in this, because this is going to be good for not only immediate relief, possibly for mobilizations and understanding of your systems, but also for your long-term development. So the first one is going to be the cat-cow. You're just going to go into a quadruped position. Feet flat on the floor, knees about hip width apart. You should have your hands directly under the shoulder. You should be back like this. Okay, so then the cat is like a scared cat. You're actually going to try to really arch around as much as possible from lumbar to thoracic. I'm a little tight here, but then going to the cow. So like that, sway back, pull that head back, pull those shoulders back, try to get a good arch. Flexion, extension, flexion, extension. Kind of like starting in our half kneel position. We'll go to the other leg so you guys can see. Hands going to get planted down where the ankle is. That back leg is going to get pulled off the ground, and then sinking those hips in, we're going to go and rotate towards the knee and get really good extension here. Okay, then we'll step back. You'll step forward. So for some people it may be difficult to just go step back and step forward and have that lower leg and ankle alignment with the wrist. And so if that's a problem, you can reset with each one. You can go half kneel, plant the hand, and then run through about 5, then go to the other side, run through about 5, and repeat that 2 to 3 times for each side as well for your practice. Extend the toes, push the toes away, get the quads flexed, squeeze the glutes, arms really extended overhead, and head straight to the floor. Maybe hard to hear me when I'm talking like this, but head straight to the floor. Then you're gonna lift opposite, so left leg, right arm, right leg, left arm, back and forth. Squeeze the glute, lift the shoulder. So this is also good for our overhead prep as well. So if you have really bad overhead, this will be a good one as well. Just repeat 15 to 20 times, technically 16 to 20 times. Squatting down, pushing the knees out, pulling that chest through, get nice and tall, and kind of relax, let that little back chill out. Breathe in, push out, open, squeeze the glutes, push the hips back, and then collapse. So, but we're gonna have the hands kind of out wide here. So the whole exercise using both hamstrings, we're really gonna kind of reverse plank up. So squeeze those glutes, push those hips up nice and high, and then pulling the heels to the butt. I don't break that alignment between my knee and my shoulder. I keep it nice and smooth. For some people, it's really difficult to do this, so they'll start to come up and then their hips will drop out. So what you can do to practice on that is, kind of tuck the hip a little bit, and then pull the knees in, and then work to try to get a little bit higher and a little bit higher until you can get to that full extension on this. And then you also have single leg variants as well. Push up nice and high. Keep that alignment. Make sure you do both sides. Push it nice and high. Keep that alignment.
here I basically make a makeshift low back extension stand using a physio ball and also using a seated calf raise. So what I go ahead and do is put a little weight on the end of the seated calf raise, let the weight drop to sit on the ground, then I can actually throw my heels underneath the bar that holds the weight on position. So here I keep the ball in a little bit higher position so I can work on my extension in my lumbar to really tighten that up. And if you have a low back extension at your own gym, you can grab some weight and hold it to your chest for a little bit of additional resistance, or even like the preloaded bars that come in like 10-pound intervals and stuff like that. You can actually almost use that as a deadlift, but if we move the bar a little bit lower, then we can focus on the hip extension component. So really putting the focus in pushing the hips into the ball to finish out. So we want to normally use this when we're going through and getting the bar above the knees in a deadlift. So once the bar starts sliding above the knees, focus on pushing the hips forward rather than actually trying to lift the chest up and stress that low back. But this also can be used into a makeshift glute ham raise as well, so that we can focus on back extension, hip extension, and then using those hamstrings to tighten through. If you have a glute ham raise or glute ham developer machine at your own facility, then that would be bar none one of my favorites to actually recommend for you guys. So we have voiceover part 2. Now here we're going to go into bent row and Pendlay row. You'll see my lips moving on this thing, but ignore that. So going into bent row, we're going to actually hold that hang position as if you're doing like a hang clean, something like that. I normally recommend actually picking it all the way up first and then loading into it to keep those hamstrings and that back tight. Now with each one, nice smooth control. Try not to do too much of a leg drive in the beginning if you're new to this, so you can get into the habit of holding good position the entire time. This helps to tie in the lats, the rear oblique sling, the quadratus laborum, the spinal erectors, and glutes to be able to have better position. Once you're more advanced, you can go into the leg drive variation that you see here.
Other exercise, Pendlay row. So this is when you'll stay in the position the entire time, but you'll have breaks on that pressure coming through that middle of the posterior chain in between. So you complete a rep, you have just a tiny break. I normally encourage pausing that hold at the torso when the bar meets it to actually encourage a little bit more rigidity, keeping everything nice and tight. And you're going to set up a little bit different than you do with your bent row. So getting your feet, about your deadlift width, if you pull traditionally, if you don't know what that is, up on your toes, where you land is typically a good way to judge. When you come down, we're going to load in, get that back nice and flat, get your width for the bar, then the bar is going to be right about mid-foot, so all the foot position, head straight, pulling with the lats and the rhomboids, pull in, touch, boom, here we get our break for a sec, so we're not stressing the low back, breathe, pull, release. A couple different variations of kettlebell windmills. Very good for really targeting and getting like the quadratus laborum, so working with that keychain. We're working also on that lateral flexion control with the core and the abdominals. A lot of times this often gets really overlooked in regards to deadlifting and other posterior chain. We need to be stable in all planes when it comes to motion. So if we leave something out, we're going to end up possibly leaving ourselves vulnerable. So I'm going to go in progression. So first one's going to be half kneeling windmill. Amanda likes to call these turkeys. This is kind of in the series of Turkish get-ups, which could be another movement that is just a general overall great exercise to encourage good movement and good engagement and stability through all positions. So we have our half kneeling windmill. So I always encourage to put that back foot flat on the floor rather than digging that toe in. having that forward. So in the upright position, I'm actually going to have my palm facing forward. When I'm actually leaning over and turning, I'm going to turn my hand towards my hip. As I get to that lean position, that's going to return every single time. So here, I'm going to keep an eye on the kettlebell, belly button drop in, squeeze the glutes. I'm going to try to come straight up from the side, try to stack those shoulders, tighten up on that kettlebell. Don't let it bend your wrist back. Okay, then I'm going to all the way up, back forward, controlling down, controlling up. I'm actually pretty sore from doing these yesterday already. So this feels wonderful right now. Nice and smooth. So then we have a couple different variants. Low load position, overhead load position, dual load position to do them standing. And you'll see people do a lot of different variants. I myself will do a pretty narrow stance. I'll sometimes go into a wide stance. It all depends. So you go into like an L stance, have a hand up just as reference, try to squeeze those glutes, keep that hip open, in much of that same sense, really get that quadratus. We're working with that rear oblique sling a little bit as we go along, belly button drawn in, get that hamstring a load on this leg by kind of pushing that hip back a little bit and getting that palm in as we go along. Then we can get into overhead load in this same one. Palm open, just like I did when I had the kettlebell. I didn't turn my hand down, I didn't have it here. I had that palm open, and I'll go into hinge, all the way back up, like that half kneeling variation. Maintaining a good spine, having nice, smooth, good control, and then even into a dual load with this one. I'm grabbing this because I forgot to grab another kettlebell, but same thing. Overhead position, L stance, glute squeeze, hips open. I don't let my knees fall in at any point in time. And then that is another kettlebell. I'll go down. Boom. Nice and smooth. Get those hamstrings, get those hips involved, get the quadratus. Then there's even going into a lower position, or a little bit more technical position, where I'll oftentimes clean up the floor around the gym this way after some of our swimmers get out of here. So I'll go into my overhead position. I'll be deadlift stance, core tight, press on the hips back. Then I'll take that weight up as I go along.
So on this one, real quick, we have a pause deadlift. So working isometric positions actually helps to really reinforce certain weak areas that you may have. If we can be strong in every single component or every single position, we can be stronger as a whole in our ranges of motion. So you can do an inch off the ground as a stop and then drive through with the hips like that, or you can stop on the way down. Vice versa, or just below the knees. It all depends on what it is you need, but make sure you're working in sub-maximal loads you can control. Okay, so the last one we have is a good morning. Think of a good morning as basically a deadlift, but the bar's going to be on your back rather than being in front of you. How we set the hips back is very much the same. We keep that same midfoot to heel weight distribution as we go along. Make sure you don't get too crazy with it to where you feel like you're going to kind of teeter or fall back though. As you see, I'll really push my hips back here, trying to keep a good extended hip and reinforce low back position. Good control in the eccentric, really strong in the eccentric, really driving the hips forward. Almost kind of think of a kettlebell swing if you can. Of course, heavier loads are going to make that a little bit more difficult to do so. But everything here is about control. If you already have a sensitive low back, this would not be an exercise for you. Thanks for taking your time to watch everything today. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and hope to be putting out more lessons here in the near future. Thanks.